Our first inductee tonight was recruited to the club from Geraldton, WA, with pick 17 in the 2007 draft at the age of 21 when we needed a replacement for the injured Matt Egan. And what an inspired choice it proved to be. He was a big game player, and we all saw that in his ability to contain the great Nick Riewoldt in the 2009 Grand Final. A dual premiership player, a two-time All-Australian who went on to play 280 games and show his versatility, and we all enjoyed that. 75 goals, kicked a few big bags up front. He played a huge part too off-field in the 2022 flag when he returned. Would you please congratulate Harry Taylor on his elevation into the Geelong Football Club Hall of Fame.
Nice finish too. Wonderful Martin Eagle mistake. Bad mistake.
And presenting him
inside
with his
their attacking 50. Dangerous kick and chipping it across. The mark's taken by Taylor. You just sense they need some momentum, the Cats. Taylor, can he kick the goal? You bet he can.
They smothered it. Long ball. Taylor! Magnificent mark. That is a ripping mark.
Top of the square. Harry. One last Harry. One last piece of Harry. Something special about a Saturday afternoon at the Cattery in this town. And roars like this at home. You'll hear that all the way to Lara.
How good. Chat to Harry in just a moment. Our next inductee was drafted from Smithfield in South Australia with pick 15 and given the number 5 Guernsey. Yes, the number 5 Guernsey. I wonder if he knew the magnitude of that at the time. Loved by his teammates for his unselfish play, he would go on to play 138 games with the Cats, including 2 flags, winning 83% of the games in which he played. The highlight, of course, was the 2011 Grand Final when he set things off with the first goal. He kicked 2 other fantastic goals, which I'll get to in just a moment. He also played 92 games for Collingwood, but tonight we celebrate Travis Varcoe and his elevation to the Geelong Football Club Hall of Fame.
He came away, surprised them with the gift of Varcoe, who gave it what it deserved. Lewis to Franklin, and away he goes. And what a sight he is. There is nothing better than that, but he's mowed down.
Varcoe, how good is that?
He's just a fall forward, not a great kick, but almost Varcoe it is. Has he? What a goal!
Spin it out to Selwood, straight away off to Varcoe. Varcoe can go all the way, runs to 45. Travis Varcoe! Oh, what a start for the Cats! Footy.
He gave it to Varcoe, who dribbles it through for another.
Right adjust, Duncan steadfast, Varcoe casually kicks a left foot goal to remember. He'll never forget it. Well done, Trav, and a big shout out to Frankie, Trav's daughter, who presented him with his Hall of Fame medal. Well done to you, Frankie. All right, now, just before we introduce our third inductee, I'd like to right a wrong, if I can, Travis, because I was fortunate enough, as you might have heard there at the tail end, to call that 2011 Grand Final. But as a commentator, there's a lot going on, particularly in a Grand Final when your own team's playing. Sometimes you get it right and you recognise every part of the passage of play, and other times you kind of have the mind of a goldfish and you don't. So I was quite happy with the way I called the end of that goal. It certainly was a Grand Final goal to remember, but I kind of didn't recognise at the time the efforts that Travis put to set that goal up and the 3 parts that he played in that goal. So bear with me, and this could go horribly wrong, but I'm going to give it a crack. I'm going to try and rewrite the record of that bit of commentary if I can. So roll the tape if you must, and please be forgiving.
Scarlet's kick.
Well, the game is still in the balance here. 15 points the difference. The Scarlet kick hung in the air. Varcoe, what courage. Look at that out of defence. Chapman, Mackie in sync. The youthful Mitch Duncan up to the wing. Stevie Johnson and O'Brien challenge each other. Oh, there's Varcoe again. That's sustained running. Clever kick. The young Christensen, he can play it back to Johnson. Even for him, he's too far out to have a shot. Kicks it long up to half forward. There's Duncan again. But what about Varcoe? He kept on running and he finishes with a Grand Final goal. One of the greatest of all time. grand final goal to remember. He'll never forget it. So, sorry, Travis. Hopefully that's okay for you. All right. Apologies for that. It was a bit self-indulgent, wasn't it? Anyway. Our third inductee, I'm pretty sure you know him. An illustrious career which included 2 premierships, the all-conquering Brisbane Lions. He took over from Bomber Thompson when as still a young man, just fresh from being a brief stint as an assistant coach at Fremantle. We actually interviewed, little known fact, he actually did special comments in the first ever game on SEN Radio. It was a pre-season game and he said he had no interest in being a coach. That's Brad's thing, he said. Anyway, that's by the by. He took over when an era, it looked like, could well be at an end. But he had other ideas. He was immediately able to galvanise the older stars, make a few tweaks, and of course, produce the 2011 grand final victory in his first year. And then over the following decade, he's been able to totally transform the list, and all while missing finals twice. Came so close in 2020, bloody dusty. And then the crowning glory, I think at least, was the 2022 flag, which was an unbelievable achievement given how much the list had turned over. He's coached the Cats for 323 games, 218 wins, an incredible winning percentage of almost 70%, and will go down as one of the great coaches of all time. He'll also go down as a member of the Geelong Football Club Hall of Fame. Would you welcome Chris Scott?
There's Ling's reaction, there's the coach's reaction. He knows they're home.
Wonderful images and memories, and again a shout out to Layla who did a super job there in presenting that Hall of Fame acknowledgement to her father. Congratulations to you all, Harry and Trav and Chris. Can I just start, Scotty, with that Travis Varcoe goal? Because I think in the commentary, this is why I sort of did that little silly thing, is that I said casual a couple of times in the commentary. And I think you actually referred to it at one stage saying, oh, someone said he's casual, but and I looked back and I thought, you're absolutely right, because it was an incredible goal, wasn't it? And it summed up, when I spoke to people about Trav coming in tonight, it summed up his approach, team-orientated and just doing whatever he could for the side.
Yeah, absolutely. Sitting with Nigel Lappin, my great friend, I mean, I don't think there's anyone more nervous than me at the start of the 2011 grand final. And for Trav to kick the first goal kind of calmed down nerves in the box. But it was the last goal that really kind of reflected to us what kind of he'd been for such a long period of time. He was the kind of player that was always happy to share the spoils with his teammates, get back into defence. But I think Harry can probably tell the story better than I can. But and I wasn't there when Trav first came to the club, but there's a bit of a tradition that the new draftees have their highlights tapes played. And Trav had the best highlights tape you can imagine. You know, running with the ball, beating players, and I think it took a little bit of time for the players to realise just how selfless he was. It wasn't all about him getting the ball, and I think that goal that third goal in the 2011 grand final kind of reflected more of who he was than some of the flashy stuff we saw earlier in his career.
Maybe Harry, you can have a chat about that and pass it over to Trav.
Yeah, I think a lot of the small forward type goals we see are the product of a long kick in and then the players almost being in that position, reading the flight of the ball and then kicking the goal. I remember Trav being someone who would work really high up the ground, beat his opponent back, and just his timing. I mean, we saw it there, how he could hit the contest at speed, but it's the work that he'd done prior to getting to that contest, which probably is something that sticks in my mind. And you guys got to see it on game day. We got to see it at training 3-4 times a week. There was no difference. He was just doing it over and over again. And when you're a defender, you're often playing against the same forwards in your side. He was one that would burst past me in a hurry, and there's not much I could do at training, that's for sure.
Where did that, Trav, congratulations, mate, well done.
Thank you.
Where did that mindset come from, that selfless mindset? Is it something that you always had, or where did it come from?
Yeah, I think I always
Because you've got a flashy player, like, you know.
Yeah, well, I think it's all built off the back of defence and just hard work. And I just wanted to just earn the respect of my peers. And, yeah, there was no better way to do that, just, out training. And for me, training was actually probably the hardest part of my week, given the calibre of players I had to train against, let alone fight for a spot in the forward line. I wasn't playing against just, a back line. It was an all-Australian back line. So that was actually the hardest part of my week, was actually training. And then once you get out to game day, it was just enjoy it, because if you don't get it right, there's about 3 or 4 guys waiting in the wings to actually take your spot. So, yeah, I just wanted just to work hard, and my teammates to love me for the selfless player, and hopefully I've done that in spades.
Yeah, well, I can tell you from yep. I can certainly tell you from all I talked to, they did love you, and even Moons was saying that you'd have a whisper to him before, yeah, you go off and I'll take your man. I mean, that's pretty selfless doing that for Moons.
Yeah, well, he'd clip me behind the ear if I didn't. So it was probably more out of, my own safety, really, more than anything. So
the consistent thing across all three of you really is you all came to a club that was already successful, but as we've seen with so many clubs, that's no guarantee that that's going to continue. So Harry, for you stepped in 2007. As I mentioned in the intro, you were 21. So what was it like when you got here and joined the likes of Matthew Scarlett, who was already on his way to becoming a legend, and then you formed this partnership with Tom Lonergan?
Yeah, I was really, really fortunate and lucky. There's some people in the room who helped create those sort of forever memories with you. Joel Selwood's behind us, and he was one of the first people to sort of show me around Geelong, just make life a little bit more comfortable for a country kid who grew up in a really small country town.
What did the Joel Selwood tour of Geelong, how long did that take?
He took me down to Torquay, second weekend here. Said, we'll go to a house party and I'll introduce you to a few people. I was well and truly out of my league compared to where Joel was working. So we left pretty quickly. And you mentioned Matty Scarlett. He taught me how to drink what's known as horny monkeys in the back bar of Eureka. But he also taught me how to be ruthless. He taught me how to work really hard. He taught me how to just compete. And he wasn't the only one. I was very, very fortunate to turn up to a club who just valued this ruthless competitiveness. And we're very, very lucky that we had one coach leave, but probably have another coach who came along who was, if not more competitive and more ruthless. And our group has really relished in the opportunity to be coached by someone who acts and lives like that, certainly on the field, certainly in the coach's box. And I know the young players that are coming through now, that's something that hopefully they continue to value as a real legacy of this football club.
Before I get Chris to comment on that, tell us about 09 then, that competitive spirit. That is one of the toughest grand finals that there's ever been. I mean, it was a tackle fest. It was wet and tough, and there was big moments, as we all know. And you had one of them. You were on Nick Revitt all day. That's a big, long day in itself, but you took the mark when you needed to. So what was that? Take us inside that day and your memories.
Yeah, I was just praying for rain for probably 48 hours leading into that game. When you're a sort of dour defender like me, rain helps, and when you're playing on an amazing player like Nick Riewoldt, it just helps that little bit more. So I remember the game, as you said, it was probably the toughest game of football I've ever played in. We had a game, if you remember back, round 14 that year, where both undefeated sides came up against each other at Marvel, or I think maybe Telstra at the time. I got knocked out at the end, so don't remember all of the game, but what I do remember was that was a really, really tough game. We lost in a close one, but I think we learned a lot from that contest, and I certainly learnt a lot from playing on Nick that day. But the game itself on grand final day was just relentless. you normally find there's just little moments in the game where the pressure might drop and you can sort of take a breath. I didn't feel like there was any in that game. I did come to the bench at one point just out of pure exhaustion more than anything, and Mac ran on and took Rewalt for me for a few minutes and then quickly came back and meant I had to go back on again. But it was a hell of a day, and to win the game after losing the year before, it was just that, I think, justification that I was very, very lucky to be playing in an amazing team.
Well, you certainly played an incredible part in that. We'll get back to some of your more quirky elements of your preparation, and which is what everyone, of course, brings up when you're asking about Harry Taylor. We'll get back to that, though. Chris, what about then? I mentioned in passing that, in 2007 you said, you weren't going to coach. That's Brad's thing. But you went in and became an assistant coach. And obviously you took on a job which in one sense must have been incredibly daunting straight away in 2011, given what the team had already achieved and who was in that team. So what was your approach straight away looking back now?
Well, you're right, Huddo. I was a relatively reluctant coach. And I think having a twin brother who'd gone into what was a rare situation as a head coach, so he was 33. I think it's quite rare. I was appointed at Geelong as a 34-year-old. And some of the players that supported me so well were only kind of a year or two younger than I was. But my brother had done it a year before at a different sort of club in North Melbourne. But he was a little bit of my inspiration because while he did say to me, "Are you sure you want to do it?" Because it's actually something that I've, in a decade or so later, I sort of reminded him of.
You did, yeah.
He's sort of coming back into it and it's like, are you sure? Like it's it is a difficult existence, and but I think it was a little different for me because I was coming into a Geelong club that, when I looked at it from the outside, appeared to have everything pretty much in order, and so it was daunting in the respect that I wasn't sure exactly what sort of value I could add. And there was every chance that I could come in, on basically what was, I think, the faith of Steve Hocking and Neil Baum and Brian Cook and Colin Carter and the board. And if the players didn't support me, I think there's a reasonable chance that it could have been a pretty quick coaching career for me. But hopefully we spend a little bit of time talking about Cameron Ling tonight, and I won't step on some of that content, but the way that he embraced me early on is something that I'll always be thankful for.
Could it have gone differently if he?
Well, I think it could have, and it wasn't just Lingy, but Harry. Even Joel is a really young but star player. Clearly going to be the next captain. Guys like Matthew Scarlett. If they had have just said, "We know what we're doing and we don't need you," it would have been really, really difficult for me. And in a way, I was lucky that the players were just so driven after the 2010 prelim final. I think the whole world was telling them that the era was over and you guys are done. And it's really informed the way I've gone about it in the last sort of 14 or 15 years at the Cats, which is to say, don't give up. You never know what's possible. And even more than that, don't worry about what they think. Let's worry about what we think and embrace what's possible for us. And those guys, again, I'll always be thankful, of the faith they showed in me. And it's hard I always find it hard to sort of think back and remember it with accuracy, but my recollection is I was guided by them much more than they were guided by me.
And to do what you were able to do then and win a flag straight away, and then, as I mentioned, just maintain this incredible record. I know you don't like talking about those achievements, so we can all just reflect on them for what they are. They do speak for themselves. But the way you've been able to set up the club, I just wonder if, we don't have a huge amount of time, but I wonder if you could just give us some insights. So the way you've been able to set up the club to allow the players to do what they do, to the power that you've given them, to the point where they're the best advertisements to get other players to the club. Could you just take us through that a little bit and where that came from?
Yeah, well, I think, as I said, I was driven by the players as much as anything. I felt that I was given a mandate to come in as a really young coach and basically say to players, what do you want to do? How do you want to go about this? And really early on, at the end of 2010, that they were clear. No, we can be the best team in the comp. And then after that, it was like I probably, if I go back a step, when I first sat down with Steve Hocking, Neil Baum, Brian Cook, Colin Carter was there. This was at Brian Cook's house. I was 34, and I'd been through the coaching process at another club, and was almost thankful that I didn't get it because I just didn't feel that I was ready. I was really young in my coaching journey. To be frank, I wasn't even sure whether I really wanted to do it. So towards the end of that interview process, which was really short because Bomber left in October, which is a strange situation, but I was almost in the situation where I was like, I don't think I'm going to get it, so I'm just going to tell them what I think. And it sort of helped me with the rest of the way I've tried to coach at Geelong. Like, be really clear on what you stand for, throw it out there, and if they don't want to get on board with it, then I'll leave. But I've just been so fortunate that the players have always felt, or I've always felt that I've had their support, and so in turn, I've tried to prioritise, and we've tried to prioritise as a footy department, the idea that if you're enjoying your life, you'll play better as a result. So, again,
how does that play out? How does that manifest? Give us something.
Well, I mean, I don't really like talking about it publicly, Hutto.
Bad luck.
Yeah, there's a little bit. I mean, that's kind of the privilege that you get coming to the Cats. You come in and it's not. I mean, we're not building it up to be something that it's not, but it is our secret sauce a bit. You come in and, I guess we've got to the point where we'd like to think that players want to stay and players want to come and it's a place we want to work, but we've never really set ourselves up, on a pedestal saying that we're better than anyone else. And that's the thing that, again, really early in my tenure, I saw from the players. I saw these great players. Lingy, he was probably the one that, when I first saw him, drove it as much as anyone. It's like, this guy's a star. He's really driven, but he's just a humble off-the-field guy. Brian Cook said to me earlier, yeah, beautiful guy off the field, ruthless competitor on it. And I thought that's kind of, that's not a bad way to sort of build a footy club around those sort of people. And then, like Joel took over, and he's the same. Like, have you ever had 5 minutes with Joel? Just an amazing person in this forum, but you wouldn't want to meet him, on field with 5 minutes to go when scores are level. And so it's that kind of the tension in our footy department. We're sort of saying, hey, when we're on, when it's time to go, no one will be able to compete with us. But when we're off, get away, enjoy your life, prioritise your family. I think from my observation, all good organisations do that.
Well, it's whatever the secret sauce is, don't give it to anyone. We'll keep it here. That's a good idea. It's worked amazingly. Harry, all right, come back to you now. Now, I haven't got time to talk about ham in the sock or any of that sort of stuff, or even the cognac. But just what about some of the ways you prepared for a game? I did have a quick chat to Nige, and he mentioned a few of the drills you used to do with your eyes closed, and then he'd kick the ball, or one of the guys would kick the ball and at the last minute so you could locate the footy. What about some of those weird and wonderful ways that you went, and the diary, the extra lengths you went to prepare yourself for playing footy?
Yeah, there's certainly some weird things that you've heard of, and certainly some others that you haven't that probably didn't go as well. But
you got any example of those?
No, we probably not. But there was a few trying to eat spaghetti half an hour before a game, trying to sort of go and watch a movie before a final, and getting there sort of just on the knocker before we started. That wasn't the best idea either, but. Yeah,
sounds a bit like Gary Ablett Sr. in the fishing videos.
I didn't quite have his talent to get away with it, but I guess one thing I am proud of is I tried to explore as many different ways to get better as I could. I was 21, so I was a bit late to the party. I really wanted to be as good a teammate as I could, which meant sometimes going outside the box and trying some different things. And as I said, it didn't always work, but I sit back now and proud that I tried a lot of different ways to improve. As I said, we had a great competitive group of people who were all trying to get better, and I sort of really wanted to be part of that journey. And very, very fortunate to be at a club which embraced that individuality. We often hear Scotty talk about that publicly. We're all unique, we're all different, we're all individuals. We put on the jumper, we go out there and we compete as hard as we can, and then we walk away from the field and we can be who we are. And that's a real point of difference to this organisation.
Are you still keeping a little diary about what you do every day?
Yeah, it's not every day, but...
so you've slackened off.
I've slackened off a touch. Yeah. No, I just think self-reflection's a great way to keep improving. I'm not sure why I started it. I was about 9 or 10 years old.
Wow.
Back when I was...
How many volumes have you got in the Harry Taylor?
I think 156 at this point, so... there's a few there, but yeah, it's just always
be a cracking read, wouldn't it?
Not the early editions. You can't read the writing. But yeah, plenty of stories in there, plenty of anecdotes, but also plenty of sort of goal setting and just ways and means of trying to improve and get better. And yeah, I'm really big on reflection. I think it's a great way to keep improving. So reflect on what happened and reflect on what hopefully is going to happen. Really commit to things, and pen and paper's my way to do it.
Yeah, brilliant. Trav, talk to us if you can about what it meant to play for the footy club, but also from the Indigenous perspective, and Matty Stokes and the crew that you had back there. How proud of you what you're able to achieve with the footy club?
Yeah, look, I'll be forever indebted to the Geelong Footy Club. Like, they literally took a punt on me. I had a broken foot, and I remember going to the draft camp, and pretty much every club just went nah. And Geelong were the only ones that. I mean, Nick Ames was head of physio then, and he pretty much just said, mate, with the right rehab, you'll be fine. And that was my only contact with Geelong. And you sort of go through thinking, no chance of getting drafted. The night before the draft, phone rings and Stephen Wells saying, good luck if you're around. We might take you. Sweet, no worries. And yeah, sure enough, they picked me up, and I generally feel like they took a punt on me. So I really that selfless nature and all that sort of stuff. I think I'm pretty loyal in that respect, and I just wanted to give everything back I could, and just do the best of my abilities. And so yeah, I'm forever grateful to the club to give me the chance, and then. You sort of, you look at, would I like to go here? Would I like to go there? The two teams I actually didn't want to play for was Geelong and Collingwood, believe it or not. And Geelong, but only purely on the fact that they hadn't had an Indigenous player for a while. So your name gets read out, and I'm thinking, are you serious? Like, this is crazy. Like, my brother's laughing at me, and but you got the foot in the door, and. And then Stokesy gets picked up, and for me, like, Stokesy's moved from Darwin down to Adelaide, so I watched a little bit of him in the SANFL and thought, great, I've got someone that's a little bit older as well. So he took that, not sort of a father figure, but sort of more that uncle really, that actually really gave me a bit of hard love at the start where I needed to, and also shielded me from a lot of stuff as well. So I was very, very lucky that he was there. And timing's everything. So I think that for me was a really, really pivotal moment for me as a young Aboriginal boy, really, coming from Adelaide to relocate. So Stokesy had already done that from Darwin down to Adelaide. So he'd already gone through that process, but gave me enough room to grow as an individual, but also guide me. So forever grateful.
Well, a wonderful contribution. I'm getting the wind. I can't believe I'm getting the wind up already. We could talk for so much longer about the contribution for your three gentlemen. Maybe just a really quick word on Lingy, if you could, on the way out. Is he worthy? Do you reckon?
Oh mate, yeah. Look, I think it's probably well overdue. I know, like you said, Lee, I know you hate people shining the light on you, and you're very, very humble and down to earth, but. You deserve everything that comes your way. For me personally, I've got so much love for you and your family. So congratulations, mate, and enjoy every bit of it.
Well done, Travis Varcoe. And Harry, you made an unbelievable contribution to the footy club. You're still playing footy, I can't believe. You and Josh Kennedy, who gets the goal square over there?
He does, but I don't leave the 50 all that much either.
What a superb player. What a great contributor he's been to the Geelong Footy Club. Harry Taylor, now a member of the Hall of Fame. And Scotty, your contribution, well, your legacy is already amazing, but it goes on. We're going to recover from Friday night, are we?
Yeah, of course we will. Yeah, that's part of being an optimistic group. We're confident that we can bounce back. You can't talk about having a good environment just in the good times. So it's probably an opportunity for me to just, I always think about moving forward and listening to Harry talking about reflecting. It's rare that I get the opportunity publicly just to talk about the people in your life that
we'll do that
really help. So just really quickly, my daughter who gave me this medal, it's not often I get a little emotional in these situations, but that was one tonight. Thank you, Layla. And Sarah, they've got to deal with me on days like today. When we lose, I'm not a good person to be around for 24 hours.
You're doing well.
So thank you. But also, going back a long time, I guess it's a long time now, at the end of 2010 when I first met Cameron Ling. So to reiterate, I was 34. How old were you, Lingy? 30 odd. And it would have been really easy for Lingy to dismiss me as as basically one of his peers as a player, but he embraced me completely. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for him. And so many of the things that we talk about in an aspirational sense of not just what we want to be as a footy club and a footy department, but who we want to be as people, has been driven by the way Lingy went about it. So when I talk about my family, that's sort of driven by the way that Lingy talked about his family. And even though I grew up on the other side of Melbourne, I felt like I was a newcomer to Geelong. And if there was ever someone that was the mayor of Geelong, or should be the mayor of Geelong, it was Lingy, and he welcomed me with open arms. So thank you, mate.
And I know you mentioned him before, the bloke you played with has been pretty handy as well, hasn't he, Nigel Lappin, along the journey?
Yeah,
He doesn't like the acclaim.
No, he doesn't. But
genuinely.
I mean, I talk to our players regularly about the sliding doors moments, not only in footy, but in your life. So, as I said, I was 34. I wasn't sure that I could coach at all. I was pretty sure I wasn't ready. But I didn't bring anyone with me to Geelong. But I was fortunate that my best friend in footy, the guy that was drafted with me at the end of 1993, was already at the Cats. And again, sort of if Nige wasn't at the Cats, I think there's a reasonable chance that I would have had a pretty short tenure. And I drive him insane to this day.
He's never mentioned that.
No, but it's true. And I mean, I love him for it. Like he deals, if there's one person that can deal with my quirks, it's him. And I don't necessarily see it, but I know that he placates the others that I'm driving insane as well. So to have Nige and Claire and the girls in Geelong, it's kind of like, it just felt like it was meant to be. And to still be here in 2024 is awesome.
Well, it's a credit to all of you. Congratulations. And wonderful achievement to be a member of the Hall of Fame.